Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm really glad to have you guys here on this. It's the 14th, Tuesday, the 14th of July, 2020. Now, listen, there's a coin shortage in the United States right now, by the way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. First thing I want to talk about is pretend out in space, 100 light years from here, there's a world that's approximately the same size as ours, and it has people on it, just like we have here, and they've developed through the process of coming to a reasonably advanced state of technology, like we have, about the same level we have. So they're very similar to us in a number of respects, but there's some major differences. One, they grew up and had one continent only. They didn't have a whole bunch of different continents. One, like we were. We had Pangea, which was originally we only had one continent, but we had some sort of a big giant asteroid or something come and hit right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where it created an enormous crater, and then the continent separated. Now this was like a million years, a long, long time ago this happened. But the continents all separated then because it took a chunk out of the Earth. It's very possible that the moon is that chunk it took out of the Earth. But anyway, I digress. So there are planets out there 100 light years away, and here we are. They only have one continent, and because they only have one continent, they only have one language. This simplifies things for them. Do you know how the language barrier on our Earth, on our planet, with like 250 different languages, do you know how confusing that is for everyone? I mean, the story in the Bible about the Tower of Babel was about the confusion of languages, where people couldn't understand each other. That alone creates tremendous confusion in the world. But then we have all these different continents, and we have all these different rulers, and each one's fighting with one another. This creates more confusion. We even have confusion within our own countries because different laws and different jurisdictions, you might go from one state to another state and they don't have the same laws. The other state, you see one truck going from one state to the other state, and he's carrying 2x4s. You see another truck going in exactly the opposite direction right where he came carrying 2x4s. It's just constant, utter confusion. And in that confusion, you have these bureaucrats like, they'll steal your stuff. And they collect shiny objects and stuff. They're called a pack rat. The big adult male rats are extremely intelligent. They're as intelligent as a dog. Now, the female rats are stupid. I know I'm digressing a little bit more, but it's the male rats that are the leaders in the colony, and they're the ones who are able to tell the others not to go in the trap. Quite seriously, they recognize it as a trap because they're far more intelligent. Anyway, I digress. Picture this world over there. They've got organization. So what are they doing over in that world 100 light years from here? Well, they're pursuing fine art. They all have hobbies. They don't have to work very much. There's no war. They don't have to show a visa and a passport and everything else whenever they want to travel. They don't have to worry about diseases. Now, what about us? We've got a constant state of confusion, a constant state of war, a constant state of not knowing where our next meal's going to come from. It's just a mess. It's a hot mess. But it does function to a certain degree. So in that functioning, what does it actually do for us, all of us? It provides our food. It provides our water. It provides our telecommunications, like internet and phone service and everything else. It supplies our power. It supplies our house, our bed that we live in. Now, imagine yourself suddenly with none of these things, because the system stops providing them. So this is a bad, corrupt system. It is confusion it's a wonder it even functions. But it does function to a certain degree. But barely. It's functioning, but barely. Now, this disease has come along and taken the moorings out from underneath it. And now the people are all upset because they've had a relatively good way of life. What we need to understand now is we need to use our logic and we need to use our common sense and realize that if the system goes down, we go down with it because it provides for us. And I know some people out there think, oh, I can provide for myself. You might have every last plan. You ever heard the old saying, all the best laid plans of mice and men? You might have everything planned out, what you'll do if the power goes out and the grid goes down and the chaos comes and everything else, and how you're going to survive it and everything. But when it actually happens, something might come along you never thought of. You go out first off to start your generator and you find out that something wrong with it. You need a part from China or whatever. I mean, it's just constant things that could happen. You might need medical attention. Something might happen on your body that you never ever thought of. But the system's down now. So you know, you might have a hernia or something, or maybe some sort of a rupture or something, and you're bleeding or whatever. You need to go to the hospital. There is no hospital. Or you might catch an infection. You might be something as simple as you just scratch yourself and you get MRSA in it. And you need help, medical help, attention. You need antibiotics. No hospitals anymore. So think first. I know this system's bad and it's corrupt and it's horrible and it's everything you can possibly, and it's confusion and everything else, but it supplies you what you need on a daily basis in order to survive. So think first if riots and stuff do erupt before you join in. Think first, because then you're adding to the problem of making the system so that the system doesn't function. Think carefully. Now, why I'm saying this is because in about a month or two from now, you're going to have like 25 million people who are going to be being pushed out of their homes. And they're not going to take this lightly. If, and I'm saying if, riots do come back again, and they could, this time it'll be different because these people will be hungry. So they'll go for the food distribution centers. And once they take out the food distribution centers, how are you going to get more food in? And this creates a vicious cycle where more people go hungry, and then it creates more trouble and chaos. And so we have to deal with this virus ever expanding right now on the earth. We have to deal with the implications of that. And what we need to do is keep calm heads, and we need to try to keep our system running, because even though our system is horrible, awful, terrible, everything I could mention, it's so confused. It's not structured the way it should be to begin with. It needs to all be restructured. It needs to all be remodified and made fresh again. But still, it's all we got. You know? And if that's all you got to work with what you got. And not tear it to pieces, because then you got nothing. Anyway, I've ranted enough about this. We need to breathe in calmly. And we need to realize that the system supports us. So we need to, even as bad as the system is, it's all we got. So what we need to do is we need to do what we're told to do so that we don't become part of the problem. We become more part of the solution. Because I'm going to tell you, if the system falls apart, I've heard estimates that, really falls apart, really comes to a crashing halt. I've heard estimates that 90% of the people will just not make it. 90% within the first 3 months. And so, faced with these dire consequences, think first before you take any actions. Because, what we need to do is we need to remain calm, and we need to restructure this system in a calm, orderly fashion so that it's able to maintain us through until we do get something better, until we are able to work into something better and make something better. And this involves working with your vote. And you better believe the politicians, they know that your vote means something. Ultimately, the people, The power has always been with the people. The politicians know this. and they will yield to the people ultimately. So let's get in there and let's take a look at what's going on in the world of finance. Let's open up the charts right here. Let's take a look. 1917, it's up 16 cents for the silver price today. And you know, it's basically retracing. It has been doing this for a while now. It's been basically retracing slight higher highs at times, but mostly retracing its patterns. But it is slightly higher highs because before, when it was retracing, we were in the 18s. Now we're in the 19s. Same with gold, you know. 1807 today for gold. It's up $5.10. Let's take a look at cryptocurrency. 272 billion. Bitcoin dominance is 62.4%. The Bitcoin price of 92.22. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is up 275 points. You know, we're on the verge right now of a system collapse. That's probably, I can see it happening in August and September, when this virus is at its peak. You know, and if we can make it through that, August and September, I'm thinking that the virus is going to start settle back down again. If we can make it through that period in an orderly fashion, you know, and then we can start working on restructuring the system. We can start to solve the problems, you know, but in an orderly way, rather than just trying to tear the system down. I mean, that would just lead to utter and complete chaos, and that chaos could spread. I remember seeing a movie years ago called The Trigger Effect, and it made an impression upon me of how disorder can spread like a virus if certain conditions are met, certain conditions or parameters. And one of those in our modern society is if the infrastructure goes down, if food distribution goes down, if the electrical grid goes down, and if the telecommunications grid goes down. I mean, all bets are off. That the chaos could spread, and I mean, it's awful hard to restore order after it spreads to a wide area. We need to work to not let this happen, and we're on the verge of it. It could actually it almost happened there a couple weeks ago. Many U.S. cities had fires in them. I mean, it's just, you know, and they made that zone they called whatever C something. Can't remember. Anyway, the thing is we need to avoid that at all costs because of the ramifications of it. If it really did spread to wide areas, you know, how would those people survive? It could be a very dire situation, you know. Anyway, let's move on and let's take a look at crude oil. It's $40.53 today. U.S. Treasuries today. We see Treasury yields falling. We're looking at 4 basis point fall in the U.S. 20-year. We're looking at a 3.5 basis point fall in the U.S. 10-year. It's at 60.5, and the U.S. 30-year is at 1.29, and it's 4.7 basis point fall in Treasury yields. So Treasury yields are falling today. Let's take a look at the U.S. dollar. 96.22, and the dollar's falling today. So there you go. There's your look at the markets today. And I was going to talk about coins. What's special about cash and coins? Well, your dollars that are in the bank, I'm sorry, but they're not real. They become real if you go to the bank and you tell them you want cash or you want change. If they bring you out a box of quarters, I think there's $500 in a box of quarters, and they slide them across pretty heavy. It weighs like a brick of lead, you know, but it's real. It exists in the real world. But your dollars in the bank, they're not real. Now, coins is going into short supply right now. Hard time getting coins in the United States. So you probably wouldn't be able to go to the bank right now and get a big box of quarters, a $500 box of quarters. It would probably be impossible for you. But you can probably still get cash. But for how much longer? Because I'm going to tell you what, if the coins are disappearing, the cash is next. And then what are you going to do with your bank account? Because it's not real. It's just digits on their computer. I mean, people talk about Bitcoin, say, well, Bitcoin's more real because you can actually, it's recorded on the blockchain, which is a ledger that is verified around the world by many different computers. But your money that's in the bank is just recorded on the bank's computer, and you're putting total trust and faith in them that they're going to. I mean, there was a time I remember back when I was younger. They used to give you a little bank book, and the teller would sign off and she put her little signature next to it, and it had the amount written on paper. At least that had some meaning to it. Now it's just digits in their computer, and there's no signature behind it. There's nothing verifying that money even belongs to you. It's worse than the blockchain. It's far more open to counterparty risk. Oh my gosh. So cash, you can hold it in your hand. It's real. It exists in the real world. So cash is probably next. Probably going to be a shortage of cash coming next. Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.